guys, what's up and welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how Cubeatz makes crazy samples in the style of Travis Scott and his upcoming album Utopia. So first of all, I will show you all the sample, then after that I will break it down and show you how I mixed it. And then after that I will show you my new mastering chain, which is just crazy. And I will explain every single effect on there. So please make sure to stay till the end, make sure to leave a like, make sure to keep going crazy on these videos. And please make sure to leave a cool comment or just to comment something that y'all want to see in the future. And as I said, thank you for this crazy support. Make sure to follow me on all my socials. The links for that will be in my description. And yeah guys, let's go. So first of all, I used the alchemy bank from No Cuz and I picked this conjuring bell and I laid down this pretty simple but complex looking pattern. What I basically just did, I was laying down this simple thing right here, like it's, I would say, a half chord, and then just transposed it up by 12 semitones, and then I just copied the C note up just to make a little counter melody, and I just laid down these 4 notes, copied them over, and I just pitched this chord basically down by 1, but I changed the C to a G sharp, but did the same thing again right here. And the finished pattern first of all is sounding like this. And then for the effects, I added this portal and this halftime. With portal, I used the grain textures bank and I used the trace waves preset, put the mix on half, or I think it was already there. And for the halftime, I just had these basic settings, like the default settings. And now the pattern is sounding like this. So yeah, it sounds a lot like a Cubeatz type of melody, and I just randomized the velocities to make it sound a bit more realistic. And then I just rendered it out, put it on the second mixer track, and on the second mixer track there is this simple EQ where I took out some of the frequencies that I didn't like. Then this simple soothe on the hard setting and a knob to 5.9. It's basically just an automatic EQ, so it does its thing. And then this EQ where I took out a lot of the lows and low mids and some of the highs just to make it sound more vintage, and I put it 25% in stereo. Then for the next thing I used my real guitar, which you can see in the background, and I just played a pretty simple pattern. As I told y'all in the last video, I can't really read notes or like know which note is which, and I just let this bell melody loop over and over again, and then as I said, just freestyle over it. And this is what I came up with and how the guitar melody sounds like. So as you can hear, I just had these 4 bars and then just copied it over, but I switched these notes up, which gives the sample a little bit more variation, I would say. And for the effects on this guitar, I had this effect rack with the liquid vibe preset, then this Valhalla vintage verb where I tweaked the mix, the decay and the low cut, then this simple EQ where I took out some of the frequencies that were like too harsh or not really necessary for the sample. Then this soothe on the hard setting, basically on its default setting, I just turned the setting from soft to hard. Then this EQ where I took out a lot of the lows and some of the highs just to make it sound more vintage and that the other frequencies have more space. And I panned it 25% to the left. Then for the next thing I had this guitar melody and just copied it. And what I basically just did was putting this portal on there, which I used the hypnotize bank for, and I used the hypnotize preset from @longod on Instagram. Then I had this simple EQ where I took out some of the frequencies that I didn't really like. Then this simple soothe where I tweaked this knob, the death knob, and I put it to 5.0 and turned it to the hard setting. Then this EQ where I cut out a lot of the frequencies just to give them other instruments more space, or like them other frequencies from these instruments more space, panned it 25% to the right, and this is how the finished pattern is sounding like. Then for the next thing I used this vocal phrase or vocal ad-lib from Splice. It's called Rolling Voices, and I basically just pitched it down by 4 to bring it into key. And then I had a melodyne on it which changes up the last note. I sadly don't have it anymore. And first of all, the vocal phrase would have sounded like this. But then, as I said, I rendered it out, put the mode on Stretch Pro, which you can do in a new FL. Then I form shifted it by -400, put the declick mode on generic, and this is how the vocal sounds like now. And for the effects on this vocal, I had this simple EQ where I took out some of the frequencies that I didn't really like or that didn't really fit into the sample. Then this simple 3D reverb where I had the decay on 3.1 seconds and the stereo separation to 44%, the wet knob to 38%. Then this simple soothe on its default settings, as I said, it's basically just an automatic EQ. And then this simple EQ where I took out a lot of the lows and low mids and some of the highs just to make it sound more vintage. Then for the next thing, I used this percussion loops kit, and I picked this perc loop which is named Frequency, and it was in 144 BPM. So I just brought it into time, pitched it down by 5, put the mode on stretch and put it on a 6 mixer track. And then for the effects, I just have this simple EQ where I took out a lot of the lows and a lot of the highs just to obviously duck it more to the background and give the sample more of a rhythm. And the finished perc loop is sounding like this. Then for the next thing, I used the Alchemy bank again, and I picked this flawless bass and laid down this pretty simple bass line. It's basically just for the root notes from the bell, and I didn't even randomize the velocities. I just switched it up at the end because I wanted the bass line to have a bit more variation. So I just cut this G sharp in half and just pitch it up by 12, and this is how the finished bass line is sounding like. And then for the effects, I had this R compressor stereo from Waves with these settings just to compress the bass a little bit. Then I had this pretty fast distortion with the mix on 50% on its default settings. Then this simple EQ where I took out some of the frequencies that I didn't really like. And then this EQ where I took out some of the frequencies that I didn't like again. And I cut out a lot of the highs and some of the high mids. Then this simple decapitator on its default settings, I turned the drive to about 2. Then the tone to a little bit more dark. Then this simple soothe on its hard setting, I just played with the EQ. So it cuts out a lot of the unnecessary frequencies. And I had it 100% in mono. And now for the mastering effects. First of all, this is a sample without the effects. And this is a sample with the mastering effects. Now for the effects on this mastering chain, I had this Cubeatz can opener. It's basically just inspired by @Mulene on Instagram. He made Flocky Flocky from Don Toliver and broke it down and showed his mastering chain. So that's basically what I copied from him, which is this Cubeatz can opener, then this R compressor from Waves, which you obviously have to tweak individually to every sample. And for this sample, I had these settings. Then I had this Cubeatz walk control with the amount to 12, the shape to 0, multiply to 1. I turn off the noise, and I think that's basically it. Then I had this RC20 just for the distortion, the magnetic and the EQ. Then this EQ, which basically does nothing, it's just there in case I want to cut out some frequencies. Then this EQ basically does the same thing. Then I had the sound shifter pitch stereo from Waves, which is an OP plugin where you can basically just play around with the semitones right here and then see, or basically hear, which pitch you like the most. And I pitch it up by 2. Then this L1 limiter from Waves, where I had these individual settings. I want my samples to peak at -3.0, so I have it set right here. And then this simple span, which I didn't really use, but it's on the mastering chain just to see where the frequencies could clash or where I can lower the frequencies a bit so the sample gets more even. And that's basically it for the mastering chain, and the finished sample is sounding like this. So yeah guys, if you all enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. Make sure to leave a cool comment and some future video ideas. I would really appreciate that, so I know what you want to see and then I can make it. And please make sure, as I said, to follow me on all my socials. The links for that will be in my description. And if you want to use some of my samples or some of my sounds, make sure to check out the description as well. And use the discount code Luca20 on the checkout of my BeatStars page. I have a lot of kits on there for a good price, so you're the first to know this code. And by the way, let me know in the comments if you watch till the end. I will send you some free samples as well. And as I said, thank you all for this crazy support. And yeah guys, see y'all.